meeting. Spurti.
Good evening, fellow Toastmasters and welcome guests. For the upcoming meeting, we have one speech slot taken by Toastmaster Pavni, who will be giving her icebreaker, and the role of an MC is taken by Toastmaster Vijay Upendra. The rest of the roles are available, so all members, please contact me if you're interested to take up the role. Thank you, and back to the President.
Thank you, Spurti, for that update. Secondly, I would urge all the members present offline and online to please keep your base camp feedback open. As and when role takers come up on the behind the lectern and speak, please do give your valuable feedback. That's going to be an additional method in which you can motivate them to keep coming up and taking up roles at our meetings. With that, I will end the business session for the day and hand over the charge to our Sergeant at Arms, Toastmaster Shiva. Over to you, Shiva.
Before I begin, I'd like to tell you all one thing. I am far from ready to give this speech as Sergeant, but I will start anyway before I'm ready. A very good evening to my fellow Toastmasters and dear guests. Start before you are ready. Now, there are two ways to interpret this theme. One is the literal interpretation, where you can give the example of a meeting. We have a phone here, we have speakers, we have a projector, we have all the members. You may say, how can we start before we are ready? We need to be ready with all this. And then the second one, probably the one that our Master of Ceremonies took, is the figurative interpretation of the theme. It is to not use being ready as an excuse to start anything in your life. For example, this is my best example is me joining Toastmasters. I attended a meeting as a guest of Mekon Communication Club, and I decided I'll take 2 months to. I decided I'll take time to prepare, time to get ready in order to join Toastmasters. And before I knew it, 2 months had passed by. And then I knew it. If I kept waiting, I would never be ready. The only thing I can do is go straight into the club, join the club, and then we'll see what happens. You can also take the example of our Master of Ceremonies. She's taking this as a debutant. She could have easily said, I'm not ready, I'm not prepared for this role, I cannot do justice to this role, I'm not qualified for this, and hence I won't take it up. But she has taken it up. She's ready to do her Master of Ceremonies today. In life, you might postpone certain things, considering that you're not qualified for them. And let me tell you, you become qualified after you do that thing. Speaking of qualified, let me introduce someone who is highly qualified. She is a qualified ACCA and a qualified chartered accountant, currently working with PwC. Aside from commerce, she has varied interests. She loves playing the guitar. She absolutely loves painting. She loves to practice yoga and learn new languages. The former secretary, associate, VPPR, VPM, and VP of our club. Please put your hands together for the president, Toastmaster Ankita.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster Shiva, for that very flattering introduction. Before we jump into today's meeting, I would like to call upon distinguished Toastmaster Udanka, who will be reading out the minutes of the previous meeting on behalf of our Secretary, Toastmaster Bhavani. Over to you, Udanka.
Thank you, everyone. Minutes of meeting number 1157 held on 11th April 2022. Team, I have a dream. Word of the day, estaticate. The business session started at 6:34 p.m. and was chaired by our President, Toastmaster Ankita. In the business session, on behalf of Vice President Education, mentioned that all roles are open for the next meeting, are open, and the interested members are to contact Toastmaster Spurti for the same. The regular meeting started at 6:36 p.m. Acting Sergeant at Arms Toastmaster Shiva Prasad started the meeting with an introduction about the team and later handed over the charge to President Toastmaster Ankita. President Toastmaster Ankita opened the meeting, spoke on the theme, and introduced Master of Ceremonies Toastmaster Shashikant. Master of Ceremonies Toastmaster Shashikant spoke on the theme and introduced the following role takers: Timer Toastmaster Pavni, Accountant Toastmaster Shiva, Grammarian DTM Udanka, PP Evaluator Toastmaster Sai. The prepared speech session had the following speeches. Speaker 1, Toastmaster Sri Vaishnavi, attempting level 1, project 2, evaluated by Toastmaster Sanjana. Speaker 2, Toastmaster Rashmi, attempting level 2, project 1, evaluated by Toastmaster Munish. The table topic session was conducted by Toastmaster Sikandar and by the following speakers: DTM AK Prabhakara, Toastmaster Vijay Upendra, Toastmaster Supri, Toastmaster Sai Snehal, Toastmaster Shiva, DTM Udanka, Toastmaster Pavni, Toastmaster Sanjana, Toastmaster Munish, guest Arjun and guest Vishesh. The general evaluation session was conducted by Toastmaster Suprit. The winners were the following. Winners of the week were the prepared speech Toastmaster Rashmi, best evaluator Toastmaster Sanjana, best table topic speaker DTM AK Prabhakara, best role taker Tabji, Toastmaster Sai Snehal, best role taker MTG, Toastmaster Suprit. The president closed the meeting at 8:31 p.m. Over to you, President.
Thank you, DTM Udanka, for that report. Are there any changes to the minutes of the meeting?
Ankita, we have one changes. PP was me and grammarian was Sai Snehal.
Okay, so I would request you to convey that to the secretary so that we can make that change and send out the revised minutes of the meeting. Thank you, Udanka. With that, I will now open meeting number 1158. A very, very good evening to fellow Toastmasters and dear guests. I would like to call upon the guests for today to come up on behind the lectern and just tell us a few words about how they got to know about our club and why they are here. Can I please have the Vice President Membership, Gaurav, to help me out with the guests present in the meeting room today so that you can ask them to come behind the lectern, please?
So from offline, I see only one guest. And please come here and let us know how you got to know about our club and a little bit about yours.
Hi, my name is Arjun. This is my third meet as a guest at company. So I to improve my communication skills, which I told you last time. And the way I came to know about the club is I stay pretty close. So it's hardly like 2 minutes from my house.
That's it from the offline guest.
Thank you. Thank you, Toastmaster Gaurav and Arjun. We hope to see Arjun join us as a member of our club very soon. I see one guest in the online audience, Kumar Deshpande. Could you please unmute and introduce yourself?
Yeah. Hi, good evening, one and all. This is my second demo session. Last week, I have missed out the session because of some official meeting. So I am from IIFL Samasta Finance Limited. Mr. Prakash Ramaya, who is the HOD of our audit department, is referred for the Toastmaster Club. And as well, I am been following this club from 2020. I have been attending various webinars, seminars, and all. Thank you.
Thank you, Kumar. We hope to see you join us very soon. I see a fellow Toastmaster with us today in the meeting room, DTM Money. Could you please unmute yourself and just introduce yourself, maybe?
Good evening, my dear fellow Toastmasters. I am DTM Money. I am from PSN Toastmasters Club. Today, I have been invited by Toastmaster Arijit to watch his speech. So, all the best. Back to you.
Great. Thank you to DTM Money for coming to our club. I hope you enjoy the meeting. Last week on Saturday, I attended a very interesting webinar. It was titled Balcony Birding. And as the name suggests, it was a webinar about the plethora of birds one can spot in and around their homes, very much in Bangalore. At the end of the session, there were a few resources that were included in that particular webinar. And one of them was basically the contact number to a few groups in Bangalore who actually go out bird watching. Now, I'm someone who's very fond of nature. and birds fascinate me. And I was elated and finally very happy that I would actually go out and watch some of the birds that I was unaware about. But my elation was completely drowned by all of my doubts. How will I bird watch without a pair of binoculars? What if I'm going with a bunch of very learned people? I'm just going to feel lost. Maybe I don't even have the right colored clothes to wear. All these questions kept me from making that phone call to the person who was heading the group. Dear Toastmasters, how often do you stop yourself from doing something, waiting for something else to change before you move forward? You think you need to wait until you're more prepared, more knowledgeable, more financially savvy, or more confident. And so you never start. And 5 years down the line, you're still telling yourself that maybe I should give this a try, but you still don't feel ready. I vividly remember this one instance when I was very dejected because I couldn't clear my exams. I was speaking late in the night to my friend Saurabh, and just like every other friend would, he gave me a pep talk and he instilled confidence in me. And at the end of our conversation, I told Saurabh, tomorrow I'm going to wake up, I'm going to start all over, and I promise I'm going to finish the line. I'm going to finish that crossing line. And before I could finish that sentence, Saurabh interrupted and said, no, Ankita, you will start now. Because if you do that, it will give you purpose to look forward to the next day. And that just stuck with me forever. Oftentimes, the hardest task is to start. You don't have to be good to start. You have to start to be good. And yes, you will fail, you will make mistakes, you will fall, but that's just how you grow. So sign up for that class, make that phone call you've been pushing, put up that website, even if it doesn't look perfect. Have that difficult conversation with a friend, send off that resume to your dream job, go on that date, take that trip, ask for the raise, publish that article you've been waiting to publish, write that speech and come give it behind the lectern. Take that test, schedule the visit, fill in the blanks. It's your life and you get to decide. And about the bird watching, well, I got up my courage and made the phone call that morning. The person on the other end was a very generous man, and he assured me that if I would come, I would just need two things: to be absolutely silent and to be very interested in seeing the birds. I pushed myself out of bed that Sunday morning and offered myself to the nature and its magical creatures. And I'm so glad that I didn't hold back. I took that jump, and I'm so happy that I got to see the marvels of nature that morning. Our MC for today is one such person who's got up her courage and for the first time is taking up the role of the Master of Ceremonies today. She is an aspiring entrepreneur, a promising fashion designer, and loves adventures. She is an enthusiastic poet and an avid reader. With a huge round of applause and a very welcoming one, please help me welcome the Master of Ceremonies for the day, Toastmaster Pavni Kiran. Over to you, Toastmaster Pavni.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster Ankita, for the warm introduction. It's indeed my pleasure to serve as Toastmaster of the day today. A very good evening, each one of you fellow Toastmasters and guests. When I was offered to take up the MC role, my immediate response was, I'm not ready for this. Wait, if not now, when I'll be completely ready? That's it. Nobody can begin excellent. We only can become excellent by doing it actually. Then I patted my shoulder and just decided to accept the role. This very feeling itself is our theme of the day. Start before you're ready. Don't wait Don't wait until everything is just right and you feel perfectly right. That right time will never come. You cannot be completely ready as a spouse and then get married. Same way, you cannot be fully ready as a perfect parent and then plan for kids. In this regard, I would love to share my own story, how I started Seashell, the boutique. Seashell was my pen name in college. It was year 2000. I was studying fashion designing in Bangalore. And Seashell, the studio, was my brand label, imaginary brand label. I couldn't start my business in 2001 as I thought I need some more experience to start. Year 2002, I moved to my native where I couldn't start. 2003, I moved back to Bangalore. I was just married. I thought it's quite new phase of life. 2004, expecting a child. 2005, I couldn't start with that small kid. 2006, my husband started a new business, so I had to wait. 2007, again expecting another baby. That's it. I thought all my dreams were shattered regarding this particular business. Just then, it happened to read a book titled Mind Power. I read the concept for the first time that everything starts as a thought, and every thought has its capacity to create reality. That was my aha moment. Have you ever felt this kind of epiphany in your life? Have you ever tried to test how does that law of attraction works? Raise your hands if you have. Yes. I decided to test it. Waiting for so long, thinking that I'm not yet ready, actually sabotaged my enthusiasm and accumulated more and more obstacles than earlier. That was year 2007. I had no money to invest, nobody else at home to take care of kids, and no experience after my college. I just didn't have any single advantage to start a new business at all. Inspired by the book, I just started. I started at home, gradually moved to a shop, and it's very satisfying journey, even though it's after 14 years. It's even more enthralling to know 98 years journey of Toastmasters. With more than 16,200 clubs across 145 countries, with more than 3,64,000 members, all just started with one small group founded by Mr. Ralph C. Smedley in the year 1924 at Santa Ana, California. He started this not because he was ready to do this big way. Rather, he saw the need for the people in the community to learn how to speak and the need of communication and leadership skills and committed to help them. A typical Toastmasters meeting comprises 3 sessions. The first is prepared speech session, where the speakers are given time to prepare for a speech on a subject of their choice following the guidelines of the manual. Second is the table topics session, where the speakers are chosen at random and given a topic to which they have to respond immediately. And the third one, the evaluation session, where the speeches and the proceedings of the meetings will be evaluated. We have 4 role takers for the evening. Our counter of the day is DTM AK Prabhakara sir. Can you explain your role?
My job is to note down crutch words like you know, and that kind of extra words, unwanted words, and some pauses which are not required, and bring it to the notice of the general evaluator during the general evaluation session for the overall improvement of the way members speak. That's my role, and I'll be reporting in the evaluation session. Over to Master Service.
The timer of this session is Udang. Can you explain your role?
Good evening once again. As a timer today, I'll be showing the cards as and when the speaker completes the timing. For prepared speech session, I'll be showing the green card at the end of 5 minutes, yellow card at the end of 6 minutes, and red card at the end of 7 minutes. For table topic session, I'll be showing at the green card at the end of 1 minute, yellow card at the end of 1.5 minutes, red card at the end of 2 minutes. For individual evaluation, I'll be showing the green card at the end of 2 minutes, yellow card at the end of 2.5 minutes, and red card at the end of 3 minutes. I'll be giving my report when called upon. Back to MC.
The grammarian of the day is Shiva.
Thank you, Master of Ceremonies. As the grammarian of the day, I will be making note of the good usages of English and the not so good usages of English language made by every speaker throughout the meeting. And we also have a word of the day, which is erratic. It means not even or regular in pattern or movement or unpredictable. Usage for this word in the English language would be her breathing was erratic. I will be giving my report at the end of the meeting. Back to you, Master of Ceremonies.
Thank you. And the PP evaluator is Gaurav. Can you explain your role, Gaurav?
Good evening to all the Toastmasters and all the guests. So as a parliamentary procedure evaluator for today, I'll be, I request the speaker not to talk about sex, religion, politics, because that might start a bit conflict between people and not everyone is comfortable listening or talking about it. And when it comes to the offline members, please put your phones on silent or in vibration mode so that it doesn't disturb the speaker while giving their speeches. And when it comes to the online members, please switch on your cameras because a blank screen is always not good for the speaker when he's giving the speech. So at the end of the session, I'll be giving my report back to you.
Let's give a big round of applause for the team. Let's begin with the first session of the evening, the prepared speech session. The first speaker is attempting her level 1 project 2. I now request the individual evaluator, Toastmaster Sai Snehal, to read out the project guidelines.
Good evening, fellow Toastmasters and guests. Today, I'll be evaluating a level 1 project 2 speech, part 1 of 2 series speech. The purpose statement of this project is for the member to present a speech on any topic, receive feedback, and apply the feedback to a second speech. The purpose of this speech is for the member to present a speech and receive feedback from the evaluator. Notes for the evaluator. The member has spent time writing a speech to present at a club meeting. All the best to the speaker. Thank you and back to the master.
Thank you. Our first speaker is someone who loves to listen to music, relishing good food, and chasing sunsets. A poetic soul. Please help me welcome Toastmaster Disha Purani with her speech title, Missing That Poetic Touch.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Disha, and I'll be presenting my L1P today. Before I begin, I have a question to ask all of you. How many of you love music and dance? Pretty much all of us. Now, have you ever wondered if we never had these songs? Then what? The world would be such a quiet place, and our lives without harmonies and melodies would be totally empty, right? So, being a retro fan, I cannot imagine a world without. I cannot imagine a world without listening to the tunes of R.D. Burman or melodies of Lata Mangeshkar, Mohammed Rafi, etc. But it's also very hard to imagine a world where you can't dance to the peppy numbers in a barat, or probably listen to the soft music in the background that's playing when you're reading a book. I totally agree with the fact that although the music today is like temporary, it kind of losing its charm day by day. There are there are artists who still create music which is soothing and has some meaning in it, but the old poetic touch that the makers then had is slowly getting lost. Let me take you through one of those aspects that's bringing the music industry as a whole down: the lyrics. In the past, the Hindi film lyrics were penned with very simple yet meaningful words, and they spoke about the deep spiritual truths of our existence and our surroundings. For example, मैं जिंदगी का साथ निभाता चला गया, हर फिक्र को धुए में गाता चला गया. This song tells you to keep moving in life no matter how difficult the road ahead seems. Mourning failures is such a waste of time, and instead you can just keep moving and not pay heed to any of those failures, but rather celebrate them. जिंदगी एक सफर है सुहाना, यहाँ कल क्या हो किसने जाना. This song talks about the transience of life, and it tells you the importance of living every moment to its fullest. कुछ तो लोग कहेंगे, लोगों का काम है कहना, छोड़ो बेकार की बातें, कहीं बीत न जाए ये रात. This song tells you to not pay any attention to what others think of you. No matter who you are, people will always disapprove, and that's totally not worth it. Instead, live your life as per your rules without any regrets. Did you see how simple these words were and how deeper the meaning is? Now, secondly, there was also a pleasure in hymns and devotional songs, patriotic songs, and songs that celebrated love, life, and romance. Be it Humko Man Ki Shakti Dena, or Satyam Shivam Sundaram, or Isharon Isharon Mein Dil Lene Wale. All these songs had given such a positive vibe to their audience that most of today's songs failed to. The music studios today have completely made the use of certain music instruments redundant. Be it sitar, sarod, shehnai, or many more instruments have become redundant. And the present day culture is making a total mockery of the impressive standards that were set into using their absurd and unintelligible lyrics. Let me give you some examples. There's a song called Ladki Ko. The title itself is so weird, just wait for the lyrics. तेरे सेब जैसे गाल, ये है तू है mind blowing माल, आजा नच ले मेरे नाल. Now, what on earth is mind blowing माल? Like हम लड़कियां कब से माल बनना शुरू हो गए, right? So there's also a song called Sari Ki Falsa. The lyrics go like, सारी की falsa कभी match किया रे, कभी छोड़ दिया दिल, कभी catch किया रे. I swear I've never seen such a bad use of metaphor ever. I wonder how disappointed their English and Hindi teachers are going to be. Like, why would anyone require a sari ka fall to confess their love for someone? And how is it even relevant? Like the task of matching a sari with a fall incompatible. There's also this song called Tandoori Nights. It goes like Tandoori Nights. Sorry. So what is Tandoori Nights? I really wonder what is Tandoori Nights. Is it a new menu on the tandoori section? Is it a new item on the tandoori section of our menu? Or is it something really deep and beautiful that the world might never know? There's also a song called Dil Kare Choo Che Choo Che. I've heard Dil making dhak dhak noises, but Choo Che is something I've never heard of. And I understand that there are no words that you require to complete the song, and also the producer is pressurizing you to complete the song as soon as possible. But seriously, could you not find a different or a better word than should said, should said? And seeing all this, don't you all also think that the meaning and the old poetic touch that Bollywood then had is slowly getting lost day by day? Bollywood isn't just about good music, it isn't about good plot and good movies. It also is a lot about good music. I hope at least the lyricists now try and bring back that old poetic. After this giving a speech, I'm not very sure. I feel like coming out of the music industry. But yeah, that's been my time with you all. Thank you so much.
Just give us a minute. There is a small technical glitch. We'll resume shortly.
I can connect with that, Toastmaster Disha. I love lyrics and tunes. That was truly amazing speech. Moving on, our next speaker is attempting his level 3 on project 2. I request the individual evaluator, Toastmaster Spooty, to read out the project guidelines.
Good evening once again. The purpose of this speech would be for the member to practice using vocal variety to enhance speech. As an evaluator, I would be keeping a note of that the member will present a well-organized speech on any topic. Listen for how the member uses his or her voice to communicate and enhance the speech. The speech may be humorous, informational, or any style the member chooses. The speech is not the report on the content of the understanding of vocal variety of thoughts. All the best to the speaker and back to them.
Thank you, Joseph. Our next speaker is associated with Kotak Securities and Foodie Toastmaster Club. He explains himself as very playful, thoughtful, and occasionally wonderful. Please welcome Toastmaster Arijit with the speech titled The Winner.
Success is counted sweetest for those who never succeed. To comprehend a nectar requires the sorest need. So said Emily Dickinson, a 19th century poet. In the 21st century, we simply tell people, either in classrooms or in boardrooms, winning is not everything. It's the only thing. Dear fellow Toastmasters, we live in a world that celebrates winners, and rightfully so. We admire them for their dedication, determination, and ability to delight us with their achievements, their efforts. However, there's this constant societal nudge of pushing people to win everything, every time. And that creates a sense of urgency and leads to anxiety. There are times when I have to counter such anxiety, and my mind travels back to the day when I was traveling to school, relieved and excited. Relieved because the first period of the school was going to be canceled, as the school was conducting the annual singing competition for the seniors. Excited because I already knew the winner. The winner was sitting right beside me. Meet Sumit Kale, the most melodious, the most artistic, the most brilliant student of our school, the cynosure of all eyes. Right now, he sat beside me with his eyes closed, with his hands swirling and twirling, in deep contemplation, practicing for the contest. Better not to disturb so. So I turned to my left and I started talking with Venkat Bhaiya. Venkat Bhaiya and I shared some common attributes. Venkat was a senior of mine. Both of us were tall, lanky, and the shyest boys in the whole school. And we loved to discuss cricket amongst ourselves. And we continued to discuss cricket that very day until the bus reached the school. After our morning assembly prayers, we were asked to sit down on the ground. And we sat, and then the contest began. Now, if you are familiar with music contests in school, they are a mere extension of the morning assembly. Because every contestant who stepped on the stage that day was singing a devotional song, including Sumit Kale. He came on stage and sang, "Humko man ki shakti dena, man vijay kare." Lord, give us fortitude so that we can overcome ourselves. The beauty of Sumit Kale's voice was that it was filled with melancholy. That was like a fresh breeze of air that would soothe everyone in the audience. We knew our winner. rest of the contest was a mere formality. Well, then stepped in contestant number 12. Tall, lanky, and shy. Venkat Bhaiya, can your friend even sing? Asked someone. Well, I did not have an answer. And then Venkat Bhaiya started singing. होश वालों को खबर क्या, बेखुदी क्या चीज है, इश्क कीजिए और समझिए जिंदगी क्या चीज है. What would the conscious people know about passion? Fall in love and you will comprehend life. What? He sang a romantic number. If Sumit Kale had sung a breeze to us, Venkat Bhaiya sang a thunderstorm. Because everyone present over there, the teachers, they were stunned. The students, they were looking for their high school crushes, including me. But Venkat Bhaiya was unaware of all. When he concluded his song, there was a thunderous applause. People loved it, and we knew we had a new winner. And the winner was traveling right beside me when we were returning home from school. The winner was Sumit Kale. Well, I had already told you. Sumit had a more melodious voice. But when Venkat Bhaiya stepped on the bus that day, everyone patted his back, shook his hands, and asked him the same question. Bhaiya, for whom did you sing that song? He smiled back. That day, I learned an important lesson. What is winning all about? Is it about awards, accolades, or appellations? Or is it about influencing human behavior? That day, when Venkat Bhaiya went on stage, he gave me the belief and the hope that one day I will step on the stage. Often, in the pursuit of success, we lose the purpose of success. The purpose of success is to believe in oneself and to make others believe in themselves. To paraphrase Emily Dickinson, success is counted sweetest for those who bring the best within themselves and the best of people around them. If you can do that. Ladies and gentlemen, you are the winner. Thank you.
Wow, what a speech. With that, we come to the end of our first session.
Sorry to interrupt, Pavni, but for the online audience, the video is not visible. Yes, now I can see. Thank you.
With that, we come to the end of first session. Let's jump into the most exciting session of the evening, the table topic session. Our table topic master of the day is a mechanical engineer currently working as a data analyst at Unpickle and digital head at Design Desk. He really dreams big and sees himself starting his own company. Let's welcome table topic master of the day, Toastmaster Mohnish.
Thank you, Toastmaster Pavni. Very good evening, my fellow Toastmasters and dear guests. Now we come to one of the most exciting sessions of Toastmasters meeting, that is the table topic session. So in this session, I, the table topic master, would be giving out topics and choosing the speakers from the crowd. And the speaker would have to speak on the topic for 2 minutes. So let's start with the most exciting part. So the first topic for today is character is fate. I repeat, character is fate. Toastmaster Vijay Upendra.
Thank you, Table Topic Master. Good evening, Toastmasters, and welcome guests. Am I audible and visible? Thank you. Yeah. Character need not necessarily be always fate. Character is the qualitative development of an individual within one's own self. It is acquired from childhood till last breath. One should not stop learning so that the character keeps on improving or developing depending on the situation that we are all put in. So normally we rescind stating that fate is what driving us. Need not necessarily be. Your past need not be your future always. My past may be a failure, need not necessarily be future. An optimistic person will not depend more on fate rather than depending on developing his own inner capabilities, thereby developing his own positive characteristics so that he can be a contributor to the family, to the society as well. So I would like to confirm to you all, character need not necessarily always be dependent on fate. We can develop character and become a better person in this world. Thank you, and back to you, Table Topic Master of the Day.
Thank you, Toastmaster Upendra. So moving on to the next topic, importance of creativity. I repeat, importance of creativity. Toastmaster Spurti.
Thank you, David Topic Master Monish. Importance of creativity. One thing I realized about me being a slight extrovert, and one of the cons for it was I started becoming a more creative person. Me being almost an advocate, being in my final year, when I go talk to my clients during my internship, they ask me various questions that I've never studied at all about. But I think using my creativity, it just helps me understand what they want or cater to their needs. Also, parallelly, I'm a Kathak dancer. And especially in dance, you need so much creativity because you're communicating all your body languages. Communicating to your audience through body language, to your expressions. So imagine you have to narrate an entire story or a play or a drama just through body movements and the kind of creativity you need. So I think through my profession and my passion, I've developed extreme creativity, which has helped me in my personal life to interact with my fellow mates, my fellow Toastmasters, and in college. That's my take on the topic. Thank you, and back to you.
Thank you, Toastmaster Spurti. So moving on to the next topic. If today was your last day on this planet, what would you do? If today was your last day on this planet, what would you do? Toastmaster Shiva.
Thank you, Table Topic Master. Once again, a very good evening to my fellow Toastmasters and guests. If today was my last day on the planet, I would go straight to a town called Belur, a few kilometers from Chikmagalur or Hassan. Take that entire Belur Channakeshwar temple and put it in my pocket, and that's it. I would protect that temple because that is the most beautiful piece of architecture I have seen, and I am shocked that that thing is still not a UNESCO World Heritage Site. if you've seen that temple and the carvings that are there on the temple, you imagine how did they manage? How did they manage without modern day equipment, without those without tube lights, without drilling machines? How did they carve out so much from stone? So today, if it was my last day on earth, I would visit that temple and I would stay there till I would die. Back to you, tabletop master.
Thank you, Toastmaster Shiva. So the next topic, your steps of developing a habit. I repeat, your steps of developing a habit. Toastmaster and you, bud.
Mr. Table Topic Master, fellow Toastmasters, and welcome guests. The question asked is, what are the steps you take to develop a habit? I read somewhere in Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. He says, everything begins with a thought, and thought leads to your action, and action leads to your behavior, and behavior leads to your character, and your habits, and habit leads to character. Now, what really is a habit is one of the steps in forming a character, and habit is brought because what we are repeatedly trying to do. So ultimately, if you want to develop a good habit, everything stops, as I said, with a good thought. So what's important is everything depends on your thoughts, and it's necessary that you concentrate on your clarity of thought, your purity of thought, and your ethical behavior, how you are going to do it. The thought has to be deciding factor, and that will only lead to action, and the repeated action is nothing but habit. So ultimately, everything depends on your thoughts. Make the thoughts as pure as possible, and whatever you want to achieve in your life, first start with a good thought. If you start with a negative thought, obviously you'll end up doing, procrastinating, not doing things properly, because you're not improper habits you're trying to develop. But once the thoughts are pure, it will definitely lead to a good habit. And that is what I would recommend to everybody. Start with a good thought. Back to Tabletop Master.
So moving on to the next topic, will artificial intelligence substitute manpower? I repeat, will artificial intelligence substitute manpower? Toastmaster Balaji.
So sorry, I'm a little late because I'm just working on manual power and not AI. Will artificial intelligence substitute manpower? I think this question is in wrong tense. Artificial intelligence has already substituted manpower. Today, we see the top-notch developers of the country who developed the very concept of AI in the entire planet are themselves being replaced by the AI that they have created. And today, if you go ahead, and we're not talking about AI as just a software, we're also talking about AI that is also being used in a lot of places where hardware is in place. Everywhere AI is being included, we are losing out importance of manpower. Today, my school's secretary, who had an assistant to do everything, to do his scheduling and everything that happens during the day. Today he says, I don't want anybody because I have Siri, and Siri comes for free. And today, if we are talking about all the big manufacturing industries, in an industry in the size of 30,000, 40,000 square feet, acres, we don't see human beings at all. We just see a code in place and everything else falling in place. There was a recent incident. I got an opportunity of going towards to go visit the Toyota Industries, and a plant which is spread over maybe 150 acres. in that entire journey through the plant where all the manufacturing is happening, I could hardly see 10 to 15 people. So it's not just machine learning that's getting better, but also the AI being used, with definitely being replaced. So if you really want a bright career, please join a course where you can learn the AI.
Thank you, Toastmaster Balaji. So the next topic is adapt or perish. I repeat, the next topic, adapt or perish. Toastmaster size name. Table topic master, fellow Toastmasters and guests. Adapt or perish. Some time ago, I read a book in which the first opening statement was, the title of the book was Why Big Companies Fail and Sometimes the Small Companies Succeed. The opening line in that book was, you need to adapt to changing times. For instance, let's take our Mekons meeting, for example. As you all know, Toastmasters is a completely in-person type of situation wherein the speaker is here. But due to the pandemic that struck us, we had to definitely adapt. We adapted to something called an online mode. And that helped us both for about 2 years, good years. And slowly when things started changing, not everybody were comfortable enough to sit here with us. And that's when we got this whole idea of hybrid meetings. I was talking to one of the regional director of Toastmasters. The number of clubs that have vanished in the last 2 years are equal to the number of clubs that have come up. This is the first time in the last 90 years. This is because they were just very hesitant to adapt. They wanted to stick to their original ritual of having in person, and without that, they wouldn't conduct an in person. A lot of times, these multinational corporations do adapt very quickly. They invest a lot on this research and development to adapt to the latest and greatest. The timing of Jio was such that the telecom sector needed some boost, and that's exactly what Jio did. A lot of these things happen only if you adapt. Not just in businesses, even in everyday life of ours, we need to adapt to situations or we just will perish away. Thank you, and back to the table. Thank you, Toastmaster Sai Snehal. So moving on to the next topic. Can introverts make great leaders? I repeat, can introverts make great leaders? DTM AK Prabhakar.
Mr. Table Topic Master, fellow Toastmasters, and welcome guests. Can introverts be leaders? Introverts also are such people who introspect, who weigh their words before they speak. Just because somebody is an extrovert doesn't mean he speaks well enough, communicates well enough, and weighs his words before he speaks. It's the introvert who introspects and thinks before he speaks is the one who is going to become a leader. A leader is one who can not just express himself, but expresses himself with clarity. If you take Mandela, or you can take our own Prime Minister, or you take the current one I talked about, and you can go to great leaders like Kennedy, General de Gaulle, and a lot of people who always think in terms of clarity, and in fact their words are weighed in such a way that their sentences are also short, and they give adequate pauses so that others understand what they are trying to convey. So it is not the introvert versus extrovert. It is about what you want to communicate. Communicate with clarity, communicate with the kind of content, communicate with kind of the succinct way, brief way, so that you make the required impact, so that the others understand and imbibe what they are trying to convey. This becomes critical in where the mission becomes important for a country, or even for a club, or even for a organization. The mission critical spaces are always conveyed with clarity. It is not extrovert versus introvert. It is how you convey is more important than anything else. Over to tabletop master.
Thank you, DJ. So moving on to the next topic. Is higher education overrated? I repeat, is higher education overrated? Toastmaster Gaurav.
Very good evening to all the Toastmasters and all the guests. Nowadays, higher education has become a very common thing because I am a BCom graduate. When I say people that I'm a BCom graduate, they say that what's the next plan for the future? Because if I go back to my parents' age when they were doing their degree, my dad is also a BCom graduate. That time, if he says he's a BCom graduate, it's a very big thing. But now, if I say it's a BCom graduate, they say, that's all. Like, what is your future plans? Because after BCom, they say it's not a very good thing that you won't progress in your career. So what's the next future plan? What's the higher education you want to pursue? So nowadays you see many people pursuing higher education. There are very less people who just finish their degree and then rest their studies. Like they just work and till their lifespan. But nowadays it's a very, I won't say it's an overrated thing. It's a very common thing nowadays that you should have higher education, because that is how you're going to progress in your career, because that is how it's going to add more value in your career, like what you do. So according to me, it's not an overrated thing. It's a very common thing. And in the future, people will be like, you don't have higher education. What's happening in your life? Like that's the current scenario, right? Thank you, and back to the table.
Thank you, Toastmaster Gaurav. So the next topic, your worst nightmare. I repeat, your worst nightmare, Toastmaster Vedanta. Good evening for the Toastmasters, and thank you for the topic master. Your worst nightmare. So thinking of this nightmare, I'm just realizing what could have happened that day. So one day I was coming way back from home. I had my friend in my back, and his vehicle was driven by another friend. We were crossing a main road. How we cross the roads, we usually do that. I don't know whose fault was that day. Bike. I just overtook a bus when the bus was standing. So I could see a big truck approaching me. I had enough gap so that I could overtake the bus and come back to the same lane. I don't know what happened, how it happened. It was just right in front of me. This thing was just, I saw this entire scene just in my imagination the other day. What if it happened? That came true. That was my biggest nightmare. I could not even control my bike that time. I was like completely blank. I don't know what should I do. Should I pull my bike right? Should I pull my bike left? I don't know. Or should I brake it? I don't know what I could not think of any solution that point of time. Only thing I did is accelerated more, try to overcome that fear and just come out of that. And I could pass it safely. That's it. That's what I could say. Back to you. Thank you, Toastmaster Udanka. Now we come to the final topic of the day, which is open to the guests.
So the last topic is network is net worth. I repeat, network is net worth. Yes.
Okay, my take on this topic is network is now with the more number of people you know, I think the more number of connections you're able to make in life. There are so many pros and cons for that. So, for example, the more people you interact with, the more knowledge you can get, and there are more inputs you're going to get in your life. But that again depends on the way you are able to take stuff. If you're a person who's egotistical or something like that, though you have a big network, you don't want to interact with people or you don't want to take their advice and suggestions and all that. So your network, however big is it, it's not going to be your network because there's no learning from. There is no learning which is coming to you. But if you're a person who's willing to take things in the right way, and if you're looking around for improving your lives or touching lives and something like that, if that possibility exists, then I feel the more network you have, there is a lot you can give to your network, and there's a lot you can get back from your network. And this give and takes, there's a lot of value for yourself as well as people around you. And with the good vibes going around, I definitely feel there's a lot you can make for yourself also in terms of network.
That we come to the end of the table topic session. Request the master of ceremonies to take the
It was very interesting and thought-provoking session. Thank you. We will now have a short networking break. So please back in 10 minutes. Once again, welcome all. We came to the final session of the day, the evaluation session. Our general evaluator of the day is a passionate teacher, an energetic host, and an informed trainer, always looking for new possibilities and relishing life one day at a time. Please help me welcome Toastmaster Balaji as general evaluator.
Thank you so much for that amazing welcome. Let me start off with what went awesome with this meet. The meet in the entirety itself was a great one, surely because of the quality of speakers that were provided. Let's look at what all really worked in our favor to produce a great platform for a great set of speakers to present their version of the conversation. We had a great energetic start. Toastmaster Shiva, the Sergeant at Arms, came in with his energy, and while he came in with a lot of energy, he also always comes in with a great anecdote to start the meeting off with. He gets that initial humor, he gets that initial attention, and he did just that even today. While he did excel at it, today I felt Toastmaster Shiva felt a little short, or was left a little short with respect to content. So maybe next time he takes the lectern, we would love to see a lot more content from him, a lot more stage time, a lot more prepared stage time from him. And then came in for the detailed report, DTM Udanka, and he did just that, gave a detailed report. And there was definitely one correction, and that was done in a very smooth way. So kudos on that. And then came the Toastmaster, who I have always been impressed with. The sheer effort that this Toastmaster puts makes us all take this as a matter of pride that she is our president. Toastmaster Ankita got in again, firstly addressed the guests, and the best line she always told the guest is what Toastmasters had to offer for these guests. And as a guest, if I would see the growth that Ankita has found through various roles, and now as a president, if we could even get a sense of that, I'll immediately join Toastmasters. And Ankita has made sure she does this every week, and the sheer proof is the fact that she prepares every week. Every line that was weaved into her opening speech itself was a motivation and set the beautiful president for a great meet to start off with. We'll talk about the Toastmaster of the day in the end. Like we say, the best things have to be relished in the last, so we'll keep it for that. Before we get to the role takers of the day, let me now introduce you all to our evaluator one, Toastmaster Sai Snehal, with a nice round of applause.
Am I audible now? Am I audible now? Okay. Good evening, fellow Toastmasters and Toastmaster Disha in particular. Your speech today about the music was something like a song itself. You did bring in a lot of elements, a lot of favorites of your own thing, and it had a continuous pitch throughout the entire speech. Now I'll be evaluating your speech on three bases. First, where you excelled at. Second, where you may want to work on. And third, to challenge yourself. You excelled at selecting music as your topic. Generally, when people take or rather attempt this speech, level 1 project 2, they rather speak about something which is not related to them most of the time, because the previous speech, which is the icebreaker, was all about them. The gentlemen try to shy away from themselves, but you did a fantastic thing by bringing about your favorite interest, music, into this speech. The opening body and conclusion of your speech was fantastic. You opened with a question that you asked, how many of you like music? Of course, who wouldn't like music on this nice rainy weather? Listen to some nice music and drive back home. And you brought in a body along this speech. You continued from where you started off and went throughout. It felt like you had stitched it all together. And the conclusion was good, but although it could have ended better. Where you may want to work upon was your eye contact and vision. This being a hybrid setup, and I'm not sure if it's your first time in this hybrid setup, but you were focused on just the first part of the room. The people sitting towards the end felt a little disconnected towards your speech, or rather you couldn't involve them in your speech. Maybe you want to work on them by just looking at once till the end of the room, so that you make sure everybody is looking at you. Another important thing what we may want to work upon was, this was a speech about music. I noticed you bought a lot of songs and you were trying to explain about them. That could have been avoided, and you could have just spoken about music as a whole and not bringing individual songs, because they generally do not connect with each other. They all belong to a different categories, and that is something could have been avoided, but nonetheless, that was great. Well, to challenge yourself, your voice was a little low, couldn't hear it, but apart from that, you did a fantastic speech. A little bit of tweak here and there, you're going to nail it, and this will help you take it to the next level. Thank you, and back to the general evaluation.
Thank you so much, Snehal, for that elaborate evaluation. If I should have asked this question prior, before you left the lectern, could you please confirm if you received all the evaluation material and the speech details beforehand?
Yes, I did receive it well beforehand.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Snehal. And I think the next evaluator could start off their evaluation by answering this question to avoid the movement. Snehal, I think Toastmaster Snehal has provided a detailed feedback, something for the speaker to take away, something for the speaker to cherish, and something for the speaker to challenge herself. So Snehal has provided an all-round feedback. And I think there's one common feedback that I would like to give here. The speaker one had a great speech, and in the initial phase itself, she tried a speech which supposedly is difficult, because to kindle humor is the hardest thing in any form of public speaking, and she tried her hands on that. While she did on that, I really want to appreciate that effort. I think this is one thing for all of us here in a totality. Toastmasters is a platform which doesn't really promote any language as such, but the Toastmasters as a fraternity has resorted to keeping one common language, and that is English. Now, there are people from different backgrounds, there are people from different states, different cities, who are all here with a common language as an instruction language, as a language to follow in Toastmasters. And the speaker had a lot of Hindi songs. Now, I do understand Hindi, and a lot of the demography understands Hindi, but there might be someone in the audience who doesn't understand the language. So not that you shouldn't be using any other regional language. Whenever you take or give an anecdote or anything from a regional language, we try and explain the same in English. Now, considering you cannot do that for the entire speech, please try and avoid a topic like that, so everyone in your audience can thoroughly listen to you and enjoy your speech. With that, let us please give a nice round of applause for our next evaluator, Toastmaster Spurti.
Thank you, General Evaluator. Good evening once again, and to my target speaker, Toastmaster Arijit. First of all, congratulations in completing your speech and welcome to our club. I would be dividing your evaluation into 3 parts: where you excelled at, what you could improve on, and where you could challenge yourself. So starting off with where you excelled at, the way you started off the quote was with a bang. You looked at the audience. You also looked at the audience, the online audience. And the start to your speech itself was so powerful that it grabbed each and everyone's attention. I was wondering what your storyline could be, because in the evaluation sheet it said humorous or informational, but I was like, okay, fine, it might be, informational. But then I realized you narrated such a simple story in such an interesting way. We've all had school days and college days with, singing and dancing competitions, but the way you communicated with was excellent. From starting off with how you say, you described your friend Sumit as a winner was great. That was one of my favorite parts of your speech. Your voice modulation there was extremely good. It communicated to us that and convinced us that he was one of the winners in your school. And then how you spoke about Venkat Bhaiya, who was not a winner, and how you went about with his story. You were successful in communicating your entire story through your voice modulation itself. Few of my favorite parts were, like I said, one is how you described your friend Sumit. Second one, how you said swirling and twirling. And of course, I can't do it the way you did it. You communicated really well. And then you said, until the bus leaves. So after such a big, a harsh word, then you again came back mellow. And then that was also a really good pause there. Then you again said something like tall, lucky, and shy. So this is something that you described the person really well. Your voice modulation was very vibrant. It was very dynamic. You almost sang the song that Venkat Bhaiya sang here on stage in such a short way, which was also one of the things that I really liked. Your speech was very clearly articulated. The topic you chose from was from your own life, so it was, I think, fun for you to also speak about, and we understood it better. Something you could probably work on is most parts of your speech were either extremely high pitch or low pitch. I feel there was no moderation few of the times. Like I said, yeah, few parts could have been moderate for the audience to completely get hold of it. Everything didn't have to be extremely extravagant. And coming to the eye contact, initially you did have eye contact with the online audience, and eventually I think you moved and you were only in contact with the offline audience. What you could challenge yourself with is that I understand this was a speech to communicate your entire story through voice modulation, but your entire speech, like I said, was extremely high or low. So it couldn't have been just voice modulation. Your gestures also were really good, but again, few parts only so that it could enhance the speech on those parts. All in all, I think we all enjoyed your speech. It was so entertaining. We didn't take our eyes off you, and we really enjoyed it. Thank you for coming to our club. Thank you, Toastmaster Arijit, and back to Toastmaster Balaji, our general event.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster Spurti. That's a great all-round evaluation. Toastmaster Spurti spoke about what went right, what could have gone right, and something for the speaker to work on. There is another common feedback I would like to give to everyone here in total. Evaluation in Toastmasters, generally, even when you take a look at the evaluation sheet, they always talk mostly about the main traits of speaking. It could be voice modulation, body language, the tone, grammar. All these are the main aspects, the main traits of the speaker that is looked at. And our evaluation time, considering it is 3 minutes, if we invest a lot of time on evaluating a few sentences, which is great, the speaker always gets a lot when you appreciate a particular sentence. They know the kind of sentences they need to use. But at the same time, the major part of the time should be invested for the content that you're evaluating in the evaluation sheet itself. Because here, though the evaluation is just for the speaker, the entire club together as an entity is learning from the evaluator's evaluation, and they know exactly what are the key ingredients they need to work on. And just to ask again, did Toastmasters Spurti receive all the evaluation tools and speech details beforehand?
I apologize for not mentioning that earlier. And yes, I did.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Spurti. I'm just making use of, making not so good use of the power I've been vested with, getting speakers back on to the dais. That's about it. But just jokes apart, coming to the table topic session. Initially, when the table topic session started off, I was like, the table topics master could have had a more energetic start, could have included some more creativity with the topics, could have included some more energy when he's transitioning from one speaker to another speaker. But after the entire table topic session, when I realized that every speaker, almost every speaker spoke all the way till they saw that red card, then I realized, okay, maybe as a table topic master, Toastmaster Mohnish has succeeded. Because the intention of table topic session is to see to that you give innovative, interesting, at the same time relatable topics where the speakers indulge and complete that time and are comfortable taking all the time, because the topic is not very confusing or not relatable. So I would like to congratulate table topic master Monish for a great topic selection and a nice variety and mix that table topic master that brought in today's session. Thank you so much for those topics. I think we all thoroughly enjoyed today's table topic session because it was wholesome. With that, I think even before I could hand over and give you time, let me go ahead and give you all time for you to go ahead and cast your votes. I'm sure I should have done this prior. That's feedback for me as a general evaluator. Okay, let's now get into the heroes of every session, the champions of every session, the ones who make every session happen, the role takers. So for the role taker report, let me start off with our today's accounter, DTM AK Prabhakara.
Mr. General Evaluator, fellow Toastmasters, and welcome guests. In fact, today, there was very little and you know, but towards the end now, few were there. And that came, majority of them came from the general evaluator, how many times he has used and that happened when he was trying to think and speak on the spur of the moment. I would say it's something that he can be watchful about, and that helps a lot, knowing him that he's a star material. And then one evaluator, most probably Spurti, I think she has that one line, 1-2 words, you know, that she can be alert about. And a couple of R's were used while explaining the role by the counter DTM AK Prabhakara. Few of them were there, R's. And that is also I noted. And I was aware of that at that point of time. And the one thing is that we are pointing out this kind of, there is a pronunciation issue here, one particular name, and several of them introduce one person with one letter missing. That also I want to bring about. One name is Pavani, Rava Idli, Pavani. and it is being pronounced as Pavni. Please check on that. Everybody pronounced her name as Pavni. Letter A was missing. Pavani, it's a beautiful name. You can check with her whether my pronunciation is right or she wants it to be pronounced as Pavni. So please be alert towards that. It's an Indian name. We are all Indians. We should be alert towards that. It's a beautiful name. And I wanted to bring it to you all I wanted to bring it to your notice. And that's about it from the desk of Accountant DTM AK Prabhakara. Over to General Evaluator.
Thank you so much, DTM AK Prabhakara. I would have evaluated this, but I think you put me on a self-thought mode where I have to control my R's, and the R-counter has a great job of keeping the speaker aware of the number of R's. The very fact that DTM AK Prabhakara got this information out throws a lot of clarity on how many R's I'm using. And if you look at me talking, automatically the number of R's that I'm using would have gone down. That self-awareness is brought out. And thanks to the R counter for doing a fabulous job every time. Next up, we have the timer for the day, DTM Udanka.
General Evaluator Toastmaster Balaji. We started 5 minutes delayed. We started the business session at 6:35 p.m. and it took 2 minutes for business session. We started the actual meeting at 6:37. Sergeant at Arms Toastmaster Shiva took 2 minutes 40 seconds, followed by President Toastmaster Ankita took 3 minutes 30 seconds to give a speech and 1 minute to introduce the Master of Ceremonies. Toastmaster Pavani, Master of Ceremony, has taken 10 minutes 18 seconds so far. Speaker 1, Toastmaster Disha, has taken 6 minutes 25 seconds. Evaluator 1, Toastmaster Sai Snehal, has taken 2 minutes 37 seconds. Speaker 2, Toastmaster Ajit, has taken 7 minutes 26 seconds. Evaluator 2, Toastmaster Spurti, has taken 3 minutes 39 seconds. Table Topic Master himself has taken around 4 minutes 48 seconds. All the speakers, there were around 10 speakers, and all the speakers have crossed 1 minute mark. 2 speakers have crossed 2 minutes mark. And break time was for 13 minutes, 3 minutes delayed. And general evaluation has so far gone for 22 minutes. Back to G.
Thank you so much, DTM Udanka. I think the round of applause itself said how clear, concrete, and concise the entire presentation was. So thank you, DTM Udanka, for that elaborate and yet concise timing that was kept. Let us call upon the grammarian of the day, Toastmaster Shiva.
General Evaluator, once again, good evening to my fellow Toastmasters and guests. Let me start off with the good usages of grammar. Elation, pep talk, offered myself to nature, epiphany, sabotaged, peppy numbers, exemplary, disapprove, unintelligible. Then coming to the second speaker, Arijit, comprehend the nectar, swirling and twirling, most melodious, artistic, tall, lanky, and the shyest. I thought you were describing me for a second. Give us fortitude, melancholy, accolades, appellations, and awards. Coming to the table topic session, Toastmaster Vijay Upendra said, resigned, very nice usage. Toastmaster Spurti said, cater to their needs. Toastmaster Balaji said, top notch. DTM AK Prabhakara said, weigh their words. And the guest Arjun used egoistic. Then the general evaluator weaved into her speech demography and self-thought mode. Coming to the evaluator Spurti, vibrant and dynamic. Let me start off with the not so good usages. Our Master of Ceremonies was asking a question, when I'll be ready. It could have been, when will I be ready? Retro fan could have been fan of Hindi retro music. Vehicle was driven could have been vehicle was being driven. you chose a topic about the music, to be about music. That's it for the not so good usages. And the word of the day, I caught only DTM AK Prabhakara using it. Apologies if I've missed anyone. Back to you, General Value.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster Shiva, for keeping such a good tab at the entire session and for bringing up all those simple and yet effective usage of language. Up next, we have the PPE for the day, Toastmaster Gaurav.
Good evening once again. So none of the speakers spoke about sex, religion, or politics, and when it comes to the offline mode, everyone phone were on silent, so there was no disturbance from phones. And I forgot to miss out one point during the MC session. That's during the applause, the audience should leave the room. So apologies for that, for not mentioning it. But still, none of the members left the meeting during someone was giving their speech. So it was happening during the applause. And even in the online session, there was no much disturbance but there was some technical glitches from offline. And it's, of course, it's hybrid and rainy time. So it's it can be negotiated. So thank you, and back to the general evaluator. That's it from me.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster Gaurav, for giving clarity on the session and also telling where you missed. Definitely helped me there. And one more thing, I do believe there were a few references to religion and sex. There was one particular space in speaker one where there was some references to why women was being called in a particular way. Now, and there was another speaker where there was some religious references. Both of them were used in a completely harmless and yet a effective way. The only thing I would suggest here is this is a platform where we don't have to even think of anything around these topics, and it's always stay safe and nice and conducive for everyone if we stay away from these topics. With that, let's talk about the Toastmaster of the day, Toastmaster Pavani. I have to tell you, I don't know, I couldn't even find one thing to tell you or to give you as a challenge, because Toastmaster Pavani, you have been challenging yourself leaps and bounds. There was this time when I'd gone in for an offline session and I could see how Toastmaster Pavani was stammering, being nervous for even introducing the speaker and giving out the topics as a table topic master. And just 2 or 3 weeks down the line, I see her taking up the role of the master of ceremonies. And I thought all the introductions would be cut short, or maybe you will find it a little not so comfortable for the entire detailed opening that you gave for the entire session and the theme. But I have to tell you, Toastmaster Pavani, I don't really want to give you any kind of feedback, because I think you are already pushing yourself leaps and bounds. And I think for that spirit and for that hard work, Toastmaster Pavani deserves a huge round of applause. It's not a very common sight to see someone improving themselves week on week so quick. So kudos on that. With that, I think we're done with the general evaluation part. I'd now like to hand over the space and the stage to our president, Toastmaster Ankita.
I think we'll give it to the MC first and she can hand it over to me. Yes, Pavni, over to you.
Thank you. Thank you, DTM AK Prabhakara sir. I am Pavani. Thank you for. As my favorite author, Dr. Wayne Dyer explains, one of the important phase of life is that it's ever expanding. It's abundant. That means there are endless opportunities and infinite possibilities. Next time when the opportunity knocks, you wanted to go for it, but you feel you aren't ready. That's the right time to jump in it. I'm sure you will feel better. Thank you, and over to you, President.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster Pavani, for that great tabletop, for the great emceeing that you did today. It being her debutante role, I'm taken by surprise at how seamlessly and effortlessly she's woven the entire meeting together. Also, I would like to commend Monish and Balaji for having conducted the table topic and GE session respectively so well, and giving us fun table topics, and Balaji giving us insightful suggestions to take back on a personal level and on an overall level. So thank you, both of you. And our two speakers who came from different clubs got up their courage to come in front of a completely unknown audience and give their speeches. It takes a lot of courage. Thank you so much for coming to Mekon Communication Club. I hope you leave the room with some new learnings and experiences that will make you a better speaker and leader going forward. Also, all the TAPG role takers, thank you for taking up your respective roles and acing it like you all always do. We have had an amazing meeting, and each one has showed us that you don't start when you're ready, you start and then you eventually become ready, and you just keep learning, because that is an ongoing and iterative process. It just never ends. I would like all of you on this note to please provide Basecamp feedback. It really goes one step ahead in motivating role takers to keep coming week after week and showing up and putting their best foot forward. Also, go ahead and drop a notification, a message on WhatsApp or SMS once you have gone ahead and provided your feedback, because apparently Basecamp does not notify you if someone's given you a feedback. So walk that extra mile and give that feedback. Also, tomorrow there will be a YouTube link which will be released on the Mekon Communication Club's WhatsApp group. For any of you who would like to go back and watch yourself speak again, you want to take notes from your evaluators, you want to just listen to a speaker you really loved listening to today, you can access that link and make best use of it. Now coming to the most awaited part of today's meeting, that is the results. The winners who have basically aced their roles and have won the awards for today. I'll start off with the best TAPG role taker for the day. That goes to none other than the person who corrected the pronunciation of our MC for the day, Toastmaster Pavani. Okay. DTM AK Prabhakara sir, you win the best TAPG role taker for the day. Congratulations. The best major role taker, that is in the MC, TTM and the GE category, goes to Toastmaster Balaji. Great job done. Very insightful suggestions given by you. Thank you for conducting that GE session so beautifully well. The best table topic response again is backed by distinguished Toastmaster AK Prabhakara. He just never fails to get this one, does he? Congratulations, DTM AK Prabhakara. The best evaluator was Toastmaster Spurti, who gave a very, very concise and very good evaluation for our speaker, Toastmaster Arijit. Congratulations to you, Toastmaster Spurti. And the best speaker goes to the one who narrated a few lines from my favorite poet, Emily Dickinson, Toastmaster Arijit rather. Thanks for coming to our club, and thank you for that very brilliant and very, very rich on content speech. Congratulations to you. I hope you all had a great meeting today. I will see you all next week. With that, I will close meeting number 1158. Thank you.
National Anthem.